Hello and welcome to the session on Women in and for Sustainable Energy at this year's Gender Summit. It's my great honor. My name is Christine Lynch. I'm the Executive Director of GWNET, and it's my great honor to share this presentation with my friend and colleague Rabia Ferroukhi. Dr. Rabia Ferroukhi is Director of the Knowledge, Policy and Finance Center at IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency. With close to universal membership, IRENA's mandate is to support countries in their transition to a sustainable energy future. The gender dimensions IRENA has focused on for the past few years is part of this broader mandate to achieve a just and inclusive transition. And I would like to give the floor without further ado to you, Rabia, for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Christine. Thank you. It's my pleasure also to be here and have the opportunity to present some of the findings from IRENA and other partner institutions like GWNET on women's participation in the renewable energy workforce. So gaps in gender data and the lack of data trends make it very difficult to monitor progress for women and girls. Unless gender is mainstreamed into national economic strategies and prioritized in data collection, gender data scarcity and analytical gaps will persist. At IRENA, we work to close the data analytical gap by exploring the role of women in renewable energy, a sector that employs worldwide about 11 million people in 2018, according to our annual jobs review. Out of those 11 million, 32% are women. This is what we found out from our global survey. And this is well above the 22% for conventional energy, but less than the overall economy, which is 44%. Our related macroeconometric work estimates renewables employment will increase to 42 million jobs in 2050, provided, of course, appropriate policies are put in place. So to achieve a just and fair energy transition, we need to ensure that women are a greater part of the future workforce, and analyzing barriers that women face and solutions is key to addressing the problem. In our flagship publication, Renewable Energy, a Gender Perspective, we do analyze the barriers to entry women face in the sector, both in the access and non-access context. In both contexts, the main barriers relate really to perception of gender roles. And these are mainly, of course, driven by the cultural and social norms that influence many of the fundamental decisions people make. In the non-access context, which is what we call also the modern context, the next most important barrier is the prevailing hiring practices. And this is followed, as you see on the slide, by the lack of adequate awareness about both STEM and non-STEM careers. And then by difficulties in accessing professional and personal networks, which is quite critical to entering many professions, and Christine will speak to that more at length. When it comes to barriers to retention and advancement, the survey found that the glass ceiling is the most important barrier. In almost half of the participating private sector firms, men continue to represent at least 75% of board members, for example. Other barriers include mobility requirements, demanding work schedules, lack of a supporting workplace environment like flexible work hours, family-friendly measures, mentoring, networking, training opportunities, etc. We have also started analyzing women's participation in specific renewable energy technologies, starting with the wind sector. We did that again with GWNET and with GWEC, where our survey shows that women represent 21% of the workforce, which is around the share that we have in conventional energy, and well below the wide survey, the global wide survey we did for renewables in general. The barriers that respondents perceived are very consistent with the broader picture that we have, and we with lack of fairness and transparency in internal policies, seen as the most significant barrier to retention. One interesting finding to point out here is that women in the wind sector are generally perceived to possess the appropriate skills and knowledge to move up the ladder or to be employed in the sector. So as a result, the lack of suitable background was not flagged as an issue as it was in the global-wide survey. In our report, we really suggest a range of promising measures to improve the gender balance. I'm not going to go very much into detail. I'm just going to enumerate them. I really call you for you to go and see the report. But mainstreaming gender perspective through audits and awareness training can change the broad perceptions that people have, but also specific workplace practices. Leveling the playing field between gender by creating supportive networks and mentorship arrangements for women is very important. And again, Christine will speak to that at greater length. Improving access to adequate education and training opportunities by adjusting curricula, providing targeted scholarship and internships is very important. And there's a lot of examples you can find in the report on MIT, King's College, that have changed their curricula and has really been very successful in attracting more women into STEM fields. Introducing gender targets and quotas is very important to address workplace imbalances. Just maybe to mention one aspect is that countries that have mandatory quotas for corporate boardrooms, like in France, Germany, and Norway, have really achieved much higher shares of women than those without quotas. Another policy is committing the leadership to ensure workplace policies and practices that are fair and transparent in terms of decision-making and equal pay, for example. Introducing greater flexibility in work arrangements is also important. Part-time employment and flexi-time arrangement were the most favored options in the respondents' survey, together with adequate paid parental leave policies like in many European countries. Now, as mentioned before, the most important barrier to women in the access context relates to, just like in the non-access context, relates to cultural and social norm. In the case of access, it's followed by the lack of gender-sensitive policies, training opportunities, and inequity in asset ownership, which is quite a bit different from the modern context. Again, here, there are plenty of opportunities for women to participate in the sector, and maybe noteworthy is highlighting the decentralized nature of renewables application, which brings energy choices closer to the household and the community level, where women tend to have a greater voice. And women can participate in all segments of the value chain of renewables, whether it's consultation, planning, construction, operation, and through the development of different productive uses. There's many very successful examples that we highlight in the report that have brought great improvements in women's self-perception and empowerment within their communities, like the Barefoot College Solar Sisters, which recruit and train and support women entrepreneurs by, for example, supplying them with solar-powered products and clean cook stoves. Other examples are the Indian Wonder Women or the case in Burkina Faso. In conclusion, to sum up, essential measures to advance gender equality must include a few elements that we highlight here. The first one is to mainstream gender at all levels in both modern and access contexts through audits and awareness training. In the context of this session where we're speaking about data, gathering and reporting of gender disaggregated data is crucial. Tailoring training and skills development in STEM and non-STEM in business and leadership subject is crucial. Adapting curricula, strengthening mentoring for women. Another key aspect is attracting and retaining talent in the sector through policies such as gender targets, quotas, This includes, of course, committing the leadership at a different level to ensure that workplace policies and practices go in the right direction, both at the government and company level. And in the access context, improved access to finance and markets are key, with programs providing loans for women in off-grid communities, for example, being of great support. But of course, to go back to where we started in terms of challenges, the most important is trying to challenge cultural and social norms, to strengthen the visibility of women in the energy transition, and help women become agents of social and economic transformation. Removing restrictive laws, institutional barriers, and discriminatory cultural practices is definitely a must. As final words, obviously engendering the global energy transition is fundamental. Temporary and precarious employment that has been reinforced by the gender pay gap makes us women more vulnerable than men to economic shocks like we have just witnessed triggered by the COVID-19. Gender balance policies are really more critical than ever. Advancing equality and diversity in the energy sector is definitely a compelling proposition that, rather than a zero-sum game, establishing gender as a pillar of national and global energy strategy will produce a swifter and more inclusive transition to renewable energy while accelerating the multiple objectives. I now give the floor to my friend and colleague in this work, Christine Lynch, who is the co-founder and executive director of GWNET, who will provide insights from the study their study entitled "Women for Sustainable Energy: Strategies to Foster Women's Talent for Transformational Change." And she will also, of course, talk about GWNET's activities, including the Women Entrepreneur Campaign and the mentoring programs that she has established, created, and is leading. Christine, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Rabia. And I'm going to take you in a nutshell through GWNET's work. If I can have the next slide, please. GWNET, the Global Women's Network for the Energy Transition, is a non-profit international association that was created in 2017 with the objective to advance the energy transition by empowering women in this space, because we are convinced that if there are more women in this sector, the energy transition would be more inclusive and would advance also more quickly. We are doing this through a series of activities, from networking. We're organizing networking events back-to-back with major energy conferences. In the time of COVID-19, we are moving more and more in the virtual space there, provide information. We've participated to IRENA study, but also just recently launched our own study, about which I'm going to speak in a second, and offer a series of mentoring programs, because we have found out that mentoring is a very effective tool to help women advance their career. If I can have the next slide, you see the series of programs that we are running. These are both global programs, but also dedicated ones in different geographic jurisdictions, such as the Latin American countries or the Middle East, North Africa region, but also a program for women in energy storage and women in wind. And recently, the addition that's not even on the slide is a program we're doing together with ESMAP for women in energy storage, to which we had already a tremendous response. If I can have the next slide, please. When we look at the energy transition, and I'm taking here up a definition from the Oxford Institute for Energy Studies, they characterize it as a multidimensional, complex, non-linear, and non-deterministic process. It's clear that the energy transition will radically reform the existing energy supply and energy demand systems. It goes beyond just replacing fossil fuels with clean sources. It changes consumption patterns, distribution, investment. We need new coalitions and capabilities of actors, and need also new socio-technical regimes of policy regulation, mindsets and beliefs. So it's clear that it requires behavioral change, but also it will require a diverse set of backgrounds, capabilities and perspectives, and a diverse pool of talents. And that's where we come in. Next slide, please. We are convinced that in order to reach this increase from 11 to over 40 million jobs, we will need the best talents from both men and women. And beyond the fact that women have the right to have access to employment on equal terms with men, we see also several studies that show that reaching gender equality would significantly improve global GDP, and also companies with diverse leadership have better results. They are better prepared to survive financial shock. I'm sure that we are going to see soon studies where it is highlighted that these companies are also better prepared to cope with challenges such as the current pandemic. They have improved profitability, have more action on environmental issues, and often have more stringent decarbonization policies. And as Christine Lagarde has put it, when more women join the workforce, everyone benefits. And this, as you see on my next slide, is also documented and highlighted in this study, Women for Sustainable Energy, Strategies to Foster Women's Talents for Transformational Change. There we have compiled, on the one hand, desk research, but also industry interviews, good practice examples from the industry, and recommendations to make the sector more gender sensitive. So I would really see it as a compendium of information about what successful companies already implement. And in parallel with this, we have also, as you see on my next slide, have recently launched Energy Transition Role Model campaign. We have interviewed highly successful women energy entrepreneurs and have asked them about their recipe to success. And this should, on the one hand, give them the visibility, but it also should inspire others and encourage others, especially young female students and graduates, to maybe also consider launching their own business in this field. These interviews are accompanied by a brochure which contains global, regional, and national resources for entrepreneurs. It's a living guide. We are continuously adding information there, and it might provide some useful information for some of you. And one last thing I would like to draw your attention to is our Women in Energy expert platform, which you see on the next slide. I'll jump this because Rabia has already talked about it. We have created and launched last year this platform where women in energy can create their profile, document their expertise, share their work. And I'm proud to say that we have now over 1,200 women from over 100 countries that have joined this platform, which we see as a tool to empower them, to give visibility, because we still get lots of conference organizers who always complain that there are not enough qualified women out there, which is just simply not true. And it's also a platform that helps to enhance connectivity, because we also see as one important element that it is important to network with other women and other men in this field, from junior to top management, and this platform is just one way of doing this. So in conclusion, I think our presentation, Women in and for Sustainable Energy, has highlighted that there are lots of action already happening, but still we are far away from gender balance. Renewable energy sector comprises about 32% of women at the moment. And if we are moving to significantly increase the pool of talent in this field, we will rely on the best women, need to rely on the best women and men. And in this respect, I think we have tried to show you that organizations around the globe are working for this. Of course, this is not an easy task, and anybody who wishes to join this challenge is more than welcome. We do also work with regional and national women in energy networks from all around the world. So we are also happy to link you up with a network in your region, and I think also the different work streams that Rabia has presented are quite well demonstrating that there is already a lot out there, but we of course have still a lot of work ahead of us. And so I encourage you to continue to join and to follow us on the work that is done by IRENA and GWNET and many others in this space. Thank you very much.